The Last Stand. The tactical display bathed Captain Ilara Chen's face in harsh red light as she studied the approaching enemy formation. 12 Vorax dreadnoughts, each one capable of obliterating her ship 10 times over, moved in perfect synchronization toward the asteroid field where the UES Perseverance lay hidden. "Status report," Chen demanded, her voice betraying none of the exhaustion that had settled deep in her bones over the 6 months since Earth fell. "Hull integrity at 64%, Captain," reported Commander Riza Khan, her XO. "Engineering stabilized the breach in Deck C, but structural integrity in the port section remains compromised. Weapon systems are operational, but ammunition reserves are critical. Railgun ammunition at 31%, missile bays 1 and 3 functional with 16 missiles remaining." Chen nodded, the numbers scrolling through her mind. Each statistic represented a countdown to extinction, not just for her crew, but for humanity itself. The Perseverance, a mid-range battle cruiser originally designed for border patrol and peacekeeping operations, now carried the desperate hope of the human species. "And the civilians?" she asked quietly. Dr. Amara Okafor, the ship's chief medical officer, looked up from her console. "Stable, Captain. The 247 refugees we evacuated from Nova Haven are managing with limited supplies. I've organized them into support teams to assist our crew. They're scared, but they're helping." "They should be scared," muttered Lieutenant Dylan Park, the tactical officer. "The entire Vorax fleet is hunting us. We're the last operational human warship. Everything else is either destroyed or captured." Chen shot Park a warning glance. "Mind your tone, Lieutenant. Hope isn't a luxury. It's a tactical necessity." The bridge fell silent as the crew continued their work. The Perseverance had been on a routine patrol mission at the edge of human space when the Vorax Empire launched their surprise attack 6 months ago. Within weeks, Earth's defenses had been overwhelmed, and the colony worlds fell one by one. The ship had been running ever since, evacuating who they could and fighting when necessary. "Captain," called Communications Officer Weidlin excitedly, "I finally decrypted the damaged transmission we received before Nova Haven fell." The bridge crew froze, all eyes turning toward Lin's station. Any communication was precious now, a rare link to what remained of humanity. "On screen," Chen ordered, straightening in her chair. The tactical display flickered, replaced by the weathered face of Admiral Hiroshi Tanaka. Blood streaked one side of his face, and explosions could be heard in the background. "This transmission is for any surviving human vessels," Tanaka began, his voice cracking with static. "Earth Command has fallen. The defense fleet is destroyed. The Vorax are systematically eliminating all major human settlements." A distant explosion caused the image to shake violently. The Admiral winced before continuing. "If you're receiving this, you are now authorized to engage in independent operations against the enemy. To any vessel with appropriate clearance, I am transmitting coordinates to Project Prometheus. Remember, Prometheus may be our last hope." The Admiral looked over his shoulder as the sound of weapons fire intensified. "This is Admiral Tanaka signing off. Humanity will not die here. Fight on." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "Coordinates received and verified," Lin reported quietly. "They point to the Tau Ceti system, specifically to the 4th moon of the 7th planet." Chen's eyes widened. Project Prometheus. She'd heard whispers, rumors among high-ranking officers after too many drinks. A contingency plan so classified that most believed it didn't actually exist. "Captain," Khan spoke up, "I served under Admiral Tanaka for 3 years. If he believed in this Prometheus project, then it's real." "Mr. Park, how far is Tau Ceti from our current position?" Chen asked. Park consulted his terminal. "At maximum FTL, about 5 days, Captain." But he hesitated. "The system is likely under Vorax control now. It's only 14 light-years from Earth." "Actually," interjected Navigation Officer Maya Santos, Our latest intelligence indicated the Vorax were expanding outward from Earth in a systematic pattern. They may not have reached Ta City yet. It's not in the direction of any major human settlements. Chen considered the information. 5 days to reach a potentially enemy-controlled system, searching for a secret project that might not exist. But what choice did they have? They were running out of time, supplies, and options. Lieutenant Santos, plot a course to Ta City. We'll approach from above the ecliptic plane to minimize detection risk. The crew looked at her with a mixture of hope and doubt. They were exhausted, frightened, but still determined. Prepare the ship, Chen ordered. We leave in 6 hours. As the bridge crew returned to their duties, Chen pulled up information about Ta City on her personal screen. A G-class star similar to Sol, with several planets and dozens of moons. The 7th planet was a gas giant, and its 4th moon was a small rocky world with no atmosphere. The perfect place to hide something you didn't want found. 6 hours later, the FTL drive had cooled sufficiently for another jump. The crew had used the time to conduct emergency repairs, inventory supplies, and prepare for whatever they might find at their destination. FTL drive ready, Captain, reported Chief Engineer Laila Kapoor over the comm. But I should warn you, we've been pushing it hard. The coolant system is showing signs of deterioration. We might only have 2 or 3 more jumps before requiring major repairs. Understood, Chief, Chen acknowledged. We'll make this one count. All departments report ready, Captain, Khan announced. Chen took a deep breath. Lieutenant Santos, engage FTL drive. Take us to Ta City. Aye, Captain. FTL engaging in 3, 2, 1. The stars on the view screen stretched into lines as the Perseverance leaked into faster-than-light travel. Chen watched the blur of light, her mind filled with both doubt and determination. Project Prometheus might be their salvation or nothing but a desperate hope. Either way, they were committed now. The Perseverance emerged from FTL travel at the edge of the Ta City system. Chen ordered all systems to minimum power as they drifted toward the 7th planet, using its rings and moons as cover. The bridge crew worked in tense silence, every sensor tuned to detect Vorax patrols. Anything, Lieutenant Park? Chen asked quietly. Park studied his console intently. No signs of Vorax activity, Captain. The system appears clear. That's unusual, Khan remarked. The Vorax are methodical. They shouldn't have overlooked this system. Chen frowned. Unless they did check, and found nothing worth their time. They spent 2 days navigating cautiously toward the 4th moon of the 7th planet, following the coordinates from Admiral Tanaka's message. Finally, they reached their destination. We're approaching the exact coordinates, Captain, Santos announced. Chen leaned forward. Visual scan. The main screen showed only a barren, cratered surface against the blackness of space. There's nothing here, Park said, disappointment evident in his voice. No, Chief Engineer Kapoor disagreed, studying her engineering scans. There's something. Look at that crater formation. It's too perfect. And I'm detecting trace energy signatures beneath the surface. Chen studied the innocent-looking crater. Bring us closer, Lieutenant Santos. Careful approach. As the Perseverance closed in, Kapoor continued her scans. Captain, I believe there's a structure beneath the surface. The energy signature is faint but definitely artificial. When they were within 500 meters of the lunar surface, a tight beam transmission suddenly hit their communications array. Incoming message, Lin reported with surprise. Audio only. Let's hear it, Chen ordered. A computerized voice filled the bridge. Unidentified vessel. Transmit Project Prometheus authorization code or retreat immediately. You have 30 seconds to comply. Lin looked up. Captain, the transmission included a frequency for response. Send the coordinates Admiral Tanaka provided as our authorization, Chen instructed. After a tense wait, a portion of the lunar surface began to shift. Regolith and rock panels slid away, revealing a massive entrance bay large enough to accommodate the Perseverance. "It's a hangar," Santos whispered in awe. "Take us in," Chen ordered. Slowly, the Perseverance eased into the concealed hangar. As soon as they were inside, the surface panels closed behind them. Interior lights activated automatically, illuminating a vast space carved from the moon's interior. "Atmosphere is being pumped in," Park reported. "Oxygen-nitrogen mix, Earth standard. Temperature rising to habitable levels." Chen stood. "Chief Kapoor, assemble an engineering team. Commander Khan, prepare a security detail. Let's see what Project Prometheus really is." The boarding party consisted of 12 crew members, including Chen, Kapoor, Khan, and Dr. Okafor. They exited through the main airlock onto a dusty dock that hadn't seen human presence in years. Chief Engineer Kapoor whistled as they entered a cavernous main bay beyond the dock. "This place was built to last," she said, running her hand along a control panel that lit up at her touch. "And it's been waiting for us." The facility came to life around them, lights activating, systems humming to power, holographic displays blinking into existence. It was clear that the facility had been designed to remain dormant until activated by authorized personnel. "Welcome to Project Prometheus," said a computerized voice. "Please identify commanding officer." Chen stepped forward. "Captain Ilara Chen, UEA's Perseverance." A holographic display appeared before her, showing Admiral Tanaka, a recording made years earlier when he was still a younger man. "If you are seeing this message, then Earth has fallen or is at imminent risk," the hologram said. Project Prometheus was created as humanity's final contingency plan against extinction-level threats. What you see around you represents 20 years of classified research and development. The team spread out, exploring the facility as the recording continued to explain. They found laboratories, manufacturing areas, living quarters, and a central chamber housing something extraordinary, a pulsing core of energy suspended in a containment field. Kapoor approached it cautiously, her scanner displaying readings she could barely comprehend. "Incredible," she breathed. "It's harnessing energy directly from quantum fluctuations in space-time." The Admiral's hologram continued. "Project Prometheus is not simply a weapon. It's a revolutionary technology that exploits a fundamental weakness in the Vorax command structure: their reliance on quantum-entangled communications. Every Vorax ship is connected through quantum entanglement to their central command, which makes them extraordinarily coordinated in battle, but also vulnerable to the right kind of attack." Khan frowned. "If this technology is so powerful, why wasn't it deployed against the Vorax immediately?" The hologram seemed to anticipate this question. "The system remains experimental. Initial tests revealed that an improperly calibrated Prometheus device could create cascading quantum disruptions with catastrophic consequences. Further development was needed to ensure safe operation." Dr. Okafor was examining another terminal. According to these logs, the research team was recalled to Earth just 2 months before the Vorax attack. They never returned. Chen turned to Kapoor. "Can you make sense of this technology?" Kapoor was already immersed in the technical schematics displayed on multiple screens. "It's advanced, Captain, but the principles are sound. The Prometheus system creates controlled disruptions in quantum fields, the same fields the Vorax use for their ship coordination and communications, so it could disrupt their networks." Chen asked. "More than that," Kapoor said, excitement growing in her voice. "Their entire fleet operates on quantum entanglement principles. It's what makes them so deadly and coordinated in battle. Every ship connected instantaneously to their central command. With this," she gestured to the pulsing core, "we could potentially disrupt their entire command network." "Could we adapt it to the Perseverance?" Chen asked. Kapoor frowned. "It would take significant modifications. The Perseverance wasn't designed to channel this kind of energy. We'd need to reconfigure our power systems, strengthen our structural integrity fields, and modify our propulsion systems to handle the quantum fluctuations." "How long?" Chen asked simply. "Weeks, minimum," Kapoor answered honestly. And we need materials we don't have. Specialized alloys, quantum stabilizers, field generators. Chen nodded grimly. Then we'll take them from the enemy. As the crew transferred essential personnel and equipment from the Perseverance to the Prometheus facility, Chen realized they had found something far more valuable than a weapon. They had found hope, and the means to strike back against the seemingly invincible Vorax Empire. Turning the tide. The asteroid base orbiting Ta Ceres' seventh planet became the crew's temporary home as they studied the Prometheus technology and began modifying the UES Perseverance. Chief Engineer Kapoor led the technical efforts, working with her team around the clock. The good news, she reported to Captain Chen after 5 days of intensive work, is that the facility contains fabrication equipment that can produce many of the components we need. The bad news is that we're missing critical materials, particularly quantum stabilizers and certain rare elements that weren't stockpiled here. Where can we find these materials? Chen asked. Commander Khan, who had been analyzing Vorax fleet movements from the data they had gathered, spoke up. There's a Vorax mining outpost in the Procyon system. According to our intelligence, they're extracting exactly the type of materials we need. Procyon is firmly in Vorax-controlled space, Lieutenant Park pointed out. Getting there would be risky enough. Stealing from them would be suicide. Not if they don't know we're there, Navigation Officer Santos said thoughtfully. The Perseverance's shuttle was designed for stealth reconnaissance. With some modifications, we could potentially slip in undetected. Chen considered their options. The Perseverance was in no condition for a direct confrontation with Vorax forces, but the shuttle might have a chance. Prepare the shuttle for a covert operation, she decided. Lieutenant Santos will pilot, with Commander Khan leading the ground team. Your mission will be to infiltrate the mining outpost and secure the materials we need. As preparations for the mission began, Chief Engineer Kapoor approached Chen privately. Captain, I've been studying the Prometheus technology. It's more powerful than I initially thought, but also more dangerous. How so? Chen asked. The quantum disruption it creates doesn't just break the Vorax communication network. It could potentially destabilize their entire technological infrastructure. Their ships, weapons, even their planetary defense systems all rely on the same quantum principles. That sounds like exactly what we need, Chen observed. Yes, but there's a problem, Kapoor continued. The effect propagates through quantum entanglement. Once started, we can't control how far it spreads or what systems it affects. If we deploy this against the Vorax fleet, we need to be prepared for widespread, potentially catastrophic consequences across their empire. Chen's expression hardened. They've shown us no mercy, Chief. They've systematically exterminated our colonies, our homeworld. If we have a chance to strike back decisively, we take it. Kapoor nodded solemnly. I understand, Captain. I just wanted you to be aware of the implications. 3 days later, the stealth shuttle returned from Procyon, its mission a success. Commander Khan and his team had infiltrated the mining outpost, secured the necessary materials, and escaped without detection. 2 of Khan's team members had been injured during the operation, but Dr. Okafor confirmed they would recover. With the critical components now available, Kapoor's engineering team accelerated their work, integrating the Prometheus technology into the Perseverance's systems. The modifications were extensive, requiring them to restructure the ship's power core and reinforce its structural integrity field to channel the quantum energies. 2 weeks after discovering the Prometheus facility, Chen called a meeting of her senior officers. Chief Kapoor tells me the modifications are complete, she began. The Prometheus system is integrated with our ship and ready for deployment. Now we need a target. Khan activated a holographic display showing a star system. Intelligence gathered from the Procyon outpost indicates that the Vorax Central Command Vessel, the Dominion, will be overseeing the final subjugation of the Sirius system 3 days from now. If we could strike at the Dominion, we could potentially cripple their entire command structure. The Sirius system will be heavily defended, Park warned. At least 30 Vorax warships, including 5 dreadnoughts, plus the Dominion itself. Which makes it the perfect target, Chen replied. If the Prometheus technology works as advertised, the more Vorax ships present, the more devastating the effect. The quantum disruption will propagate from ship to ship through their entangled communication network. And if it doesn't work? Dr. Okafor asked quietly. Then we'll have made our last stand, Chen answered honestly. But we'll have done it on our terms, fighting back instead of running. The senior officers exchanged glances, then nodded in agreement. The decision was made. The UES Perseverance departed the Prometheus facility the next day, its systems modified, and its crew resolved. They would have one chance to strike at the heart of the Vorax Empire. Failure meant extinction, not just for them, but potentially for humanity itself. As they approached the Sirius system, Chen addressed the entire crew and the civilians aboard. For 6 months, we've been running. We've watched our worlds fall, our people die. Today, that changes. Today, we stop running and start fighting back. I can't promise that we'll all survive what's coming, but I can promise this. The Vorax will remember the day they faced the last ship of humanity. The Perseverance dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Sirius system, immediately activating its stealth systems. The ship's sensors detected massive Vorax activity, a fleet of warships in orbit around Sirius B, bombarding the human colony below. At the center of the formation was the Dominion, a massive vessel twice the size of Earth's largest dreadnought. Their sensors haven't detected us yet, Park reported. The stealth modifications are holding. Take us in, Lieutenant Santos, Chen ordered. Approach vector that keeps us in Sirius A's radiation shadow as long as possible. The Perseverance crept closer to the Vorax fleet, its engines barely above idle to minimize its energy signature. Every member of the crew held their breath, knowing that detection now would mean instant destruction. We're in optimal range, Captain, Kapoor reported from engineering. The Prometheus system is charged and ready. On your command. Chen took a deep breath, looking around at her bridge crew. Humans from different nations, colonies, and backgrounds, united in this final, desperate gamble. Activate Prometheus, she commanded. Kapoor initiated the sequence, and the Perseverance's modified power core began to pulse with energy. The quantum disruption field built rapidly, emanating from the ship in invisible waves. For several seconds, nothing seemed to happen. Then suddenly, the nearest Vorax cruiser's lights flickered and died. A moment later, another Vorax ship began drifting out of formation. Then another, and another. It's working, Khan whispered, watching the tactical display in amazement. The quantum disruption spread from ship to ship, cascading through the Vorax fleet like a virus. Their perfectly coordinated formation dissolved into chaos as vessels lost power, weapon systems failed, and communication networks collapsed. The Dominion is showing signs of disruption, Park reported excitedly. Their main power grid is fluctuating wildly. Now, Lieutenant Park, Chen ordered, target the Dominion with everything we have. The Perseverance decloaked, its weapon systems coming online. Railguns thundered as they launched hypervelocity projectiles at the crippled Vorax command ship. Missiles streaked from their bays, finding targets among the disorganized enemy fleet. The Dominion, its defenses compromised by the quantum disruption, took multiple direct hits. Secondary explosions bloomed along its hull as internal systems failed catastrophically. Captain, Communications Officer Lin called out, "We're picking up transmissions from the surface. The human colony is still there. They've been resisting the Vorax occupation." Chen opened a channel. "This is Captain Ilara Chen of the UES Perseverance to any survivors on Sirius B. We've engaged the Vorax fleet and are deploying a weapon that disrupts their systems. Stand by for evacuation." The battle continued, but it was no longer a fair fight. The Vorax ships, stripped of their coordination and technological advantages, were reduced to individual vessels fighting alone against a human ship that had long anticipated this moment. The quantum disruption is spreading beyond the local fleet, Kapoor reported from engineering. The entanglement network is carrying it to connected Vorax vessels throughout nearby systems. The Dominion, gravely damaged but still operational, attempted to retreat from the battlefield. Chen wasn't about to let the heart of the Vorax command escape. Pursuit course, Lieutenant Santos. All remaining missiles target the Dominion's propulsion systems. The Perseverance gave chase, launching its final missiles at the fleeing Vorax command ship. The Dominion's engines exploded in a brilliant cascade of energy, leaving the massive vessel adrift and vulnerable. "Captain," Khan said urgently, "the Prometheus core is becoming unstable. The quantum reactions are exceeding our containment parameters." Chen had known this might happen. The technology was experimental, pushed beyond its tested limits. They had struck their blow. Now they needed to survive it. Lieutenant Santos, set course for Sirius B. We need to evacuate as many survivors as possible before the Prometheus system overloads. As the Perseverance approached the colony world, they received grateful messages from thousands of human survivors who had endured months of Vorax occupation. Shuttles began ferrying people from the surface to the ship, while the Vorax fleet drifted powerless in orbit. "Captain," Kapoor called from engineering, her voice strained, "we can't contain the quantum reactions much longer. The core is approaching critical instability." Chen made a quick decision. Transfer all civilians and non-essential personnel to the colony's emergency shelters. "Commander Khan, prepare to evacuate the ship." "What are you planning, Captain?" Khan asked, though his expression suggested he already knew. The Prometheus technology was never meant to be a permanent installation, Chen explained. Its effect continues to spread through the Vorax network. "Once we've evacuated everyone, I'll take the Perseverance back to the Dominion and trigger a controlled overload." Khan's eyes widened. That would create a quantum cascade that could potentially affect the entire Vorax command structure. "Exactly," Chen nodded. One final blow. The evacuation proceeded with urgency. Within hours, most of the crew and all civilians had been transferred to the surface of Sirius B. Only Chen and a skeleton crew of volunteers remained aboard the Perseverance. "The rest of you should go too," Chen told the volunteers on the bridge. "This is my responsibility." "With respect, Captain," Khan replied firmly. "We started this together. We'll finish it together." Chen looked at the determined faces of her officers. Khan, Santos, Park, Lin, and Kapoor, and nodded gratefully. "Set course for the Dominion, Lieutenant Santos. One last journey." The Perseverance approached the crippled Vorax command ship, its own systems now fluctuating as the Prometheus core destabilized further. They positioned themselves directly alongside the massive enemy vessel. "Prometheus core at 98% instability," Kapoor reported. "When it goes, the quantum cascade will be spectacular." "Open a channel to Sirius B," Chen ordered. Lin complied, and Chen addressed the survivors and evacuated crew members. "This is Captain Chen. The Perseverance has completed its final mission. What happens here today isn't just revenge, it's a new beginning. Rebuild. Remember, and when you're ready, reclaim the stars." Chen out. She turned to her remaining officers. "It's been an honor serving with you." Prometheus core reaching critical instability, Kapoor announced calmly. "Cascade imminent in 3, 2, 1. The UES Perseverance erupted in a blinding flash of energy that consumed both it and the Vorax Dominion. But unlike a conventional explosion, this one didn't end. It expanded in waves of quantum disruption that propagated through the entangled network connecting every Vorax vessel, base, and installation throughout their empire. From Sirius B, the survivors watched as Vorax ships throughout the system suddenly lost power and drifted helplessly in space. In the weeks that followed, they would learn that the effect had spread far beyond a single system. Throughout Vorax-controlled space, their technology failed catastrophically as the quantum cascade tore through their networks. The empire that had seemed invincible, that had brought humanity to the brink of extinction, collapsed in a matter of days, undone by the last stand of a single human warship and its determined crew. 6 months after the Battle of Sirius, the first human fleet assembled since Earth's fall gathered over the recovered colony world. Warships repurposed from abandoned Vorax vessels joined the handful of surviving human military ships that had emerged from hiding. Admiral Maya Santos stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned UES Chen, named for the captain who had turned the tide of war. Beside her stood Commander Layla Kapoor, now the ship's captain. "The quantum cascade is still spreading through former Vorax space," Kapoor reported. "Their technology will be useless for decades, maybe centuries. We've already reclaimed 6 colony worlds, and Earth expeditionary forces report our homeworld is secure." Santos nodded, gazing at the stars beyond the viewscreen. "One ship," she said quietly. "One desperate gamble." Captain Chen always said that hope wasn't a luxury. It was a tactical necessity. She was right, Kapoor replied. "And now we have more than hope. We have a future." The fleet engaged its engines, beginning its journey to reclaim the stars that humanity had nearly lost. The story of the UES Perseverance and its final stand would be told for generations, how one lone warship had defied an empire and obliterated it.